So now I'm going to show you how you can create a chatbot that is specialized in returning the weather forecast to users. So what I'm going to do is that first of all, I'm going to be using here an API that returns weather conditions, weather forecast, and this service is called openweather.org, and you can register here for free. It's for free for the basic plan, and you don't have to get business plan unless you intend to create a commercial application. But you can use the free plan, which is gonna let you make 1 million calls per month. And what all you need to do is that you need to register, and once you register, you need to confirm your the email that will be sent to your inbox, and then click here on my API keys, and then you will be able to copy your API key and use it in order to make calls and get weather forecast. And of course, you can click here on generate to generate a new key. And by the way, the key will be activated within 10 minutes of registration. So you need to wait almost 10 minutes or more in order for this key to be activated and in order to be able to use this key. So how can you make calls? Well, first of all, you need to click here on Get Started, and then you need to click on Current Weather for any geolocation, and then here it's gonna tell you how you can, it's gonna walk you through on how to get weather condition in a specific city. And by the way, it's super simple. All you need to do is that you need to copy this. You need to copy this URL and then head on over to your browser and create or open up a new tab, and then you need to paste that URL. And then what you need to change is that you need here to pass your API key, which is the key here. Let me show you that here, which is your API key. You need to copy it from here and then paste it here. And then here the the query is equal to, and then something. You need here to pass the name of the city. So here I'm passing here San Diego. You can of course pass whatever city you want. For example, here let me say New York, and then hit enter, and as you can see, it's gonna return weather forecast in New York City. So this is how it works, and this is how you can create an account and get your API key, and this is how you can make calls. So this is the first step, which is creating an account and getting your API key. And now the next step that you need to do is that you need to use this URL in your application. But how are you going to do that? Let me show you how you can do that. Well, first of all, in your index.py, we need to import a module called requests. Not this request, but another separate independent module called requests. So I'm going to say here import and then requests, plural, not singular. So this is another module other than the requests class that comes with Flask. Again, this is requests. And once you have these requests, you can make a call here in your application. Remember, we have this get, which is the function that will be called once the user clicks on send here. Once the user clicks on send, this function will be called. So we need to make a request using this requests module, and then dot get in order to make a get request. And then inside that get, we need to pass the URL. The URL, which is this URL, let me copy it, and then let me paste it here. And now we will be able to make a call, and then we can store the result in a variable called raw data, because this is going to return, this call is going to return, it's going to return this JSON. Let me show you that. It's going to return this JSON object. And by the way, this JSON object contains the coordinates of the location you are searching for. It's weather condition. And then we have the weather, which contains the description, the main, and the description here it says overcast clouds. And also we have the temperature, and here feels like, also the temperature. And then we have the temperature, the minimum and the maximum, and the pressure, the humidity. So this service gives you a lot of information about that location, about the weather conditions in that location. And let me go back to our project. And then here, once we get this JSON object, now here, we need to convert it. We need to convert that raw data into JSON. So I'm going to say here raw data.json. So this is going to be this is going to convert it to JSON. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say result, and then it's going to be equal to raw data.json. And finally, we need to pass this result, which is a JSON object, we need to return it to the caller. So I'm going to say here return and then result. Return result. And this result will be given to the caller. And who is the caller? The caller obviously is JavaScript, which is this get, and then user message, and then done, and then data. So this data is basically is this result. So this result is gonna kind of hand this JSON object over. It's gonna hand this JSON object over to JavaScript, specifically to this variable called data, and then it's gonna display it here. Let me show you now what's gonna happen if we type anything here. If we type anything, let me first refresh. And let me here type anything, it doesn't matter. And then if you click on send, what's gonna happen is that it's gonna return object. As you can see, it returned the object, which is the JSON object, which is this. But of course, we don't want to display here object. Instead, we want to display, for example, the temperature and also the description, and maybe the humidity or the pressure. And it's up to you. I'm gonna leave it up to you which keys, which information you want to display to or give the user. So what I'm going to do is that here in the index.html we have the data, and we can here say data dot and then access whichever key we need to display. So for example, if you want to display the description, you can simply say weather. First you need the weather, and then since this is an array, I'm going to say weather and then the first element, which is an object, and then inside that first element we want to access the description. So you can here say data and then dot weather, and then since this is an array, I'm going to say here, I'm going to say weather 0 because we want to access the first element and the only element, and then dot and then description because I want to get the description. Now if you save and if you refresh and make another call here, let me click on send, it's gonna here say overcast clouds, and in the API it says here overcast clouds, so it worked. And maybe you want to get the temperature as well and display the temperature. You can even here say, even say here plus and then data dot, and then we want to access obviously the temperature. So the temperature lies in a key called, inside the key called main. So first we need to say here main and then temperature, temp. So main and then temp. So in our application, I'm going to say here main and then dot temp. First we need to access the main dot temp, and I'm going to also add here plus and then some space, just space. I'm going to say here, let me here say temperature, so that the user knows that this is the temperature. So I'm going to say here temp and then space and then here hyphen and then the description. Now if you save and if you refresh, guess what? And if you send something and click on send, guess what? You're going to get the temperature as well as the description. So here it says 292.78 and then overcast clouds. So it worked, and now you can get any key you want, any piece of information, and display it and give it, basically hand it over to the user.